Hey guys, this is Mark,
And this is Mel.
and this is
Therapy
Therapy
Unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
So, welcome to episode 2.
Welcome back, guys.
We didn't scare you off. So, today we're going to be talking about attachment and bids of connection.
Yes.
And we're first going to start off the episode just giving you a little bit of an overview about attachment. So, as many of you probably have seen on the internet or heard people in passing talking about different types of attachment. And so there are different types of attachment, but before I talk about these categories, I really want you to think this in a fluid manner. And just because you might resonate with one category doesn't mean that you will ultimately be stuck in that category forever. It's not a label that you attach to yourself.
Yeah, it's not fixed.
Yeah, it's not fixed. So we first have the secure attachment. So secure attachment is this healthy, balanced, where you will welcome in connection. You don't feel nervousness. You feel stable, grounded, balanced.
You can really kind of lean into a relationship.
Yeah, and fear. There's no sense of fear when you're leaning in. That's how I would kind of describe
It's
secure.
peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful. You take things slow, whatever that would constitute. I know slow can be subjective, but not kind of like urging into something because you might feel nervous. And then there's another category, and that is the anxious attachment. And the anxious attachment is this sense of nervousness when you feel like your partner might be detaching from yourself, or you feel like you constantly have to people please.
Yeah, just this kind of questioning constantly of like, do I say this or, is this okay?
Do you love me?
Uh-huh.
Why do you
Yeah.
love me? Those tend to be the anxious questions. Constantly checking your phone, looking at those timestamps, analyzing patterns, hyperfixating on some behaviors. It can be really exhausting having an anxious attachment. And then, so that's some examples for the anxious attachment. And then we have
The avoidant.
the avoidant.
And the avoidant, just really kind of has a lot of armor around them. It's hard to kind of penetrate, to sort of get close to them, and they have their defenses really high up, and for good reason, usually.
And we could go into a whole episode talking about the anxious and avoidant and the chase to it. But, and then there's the disorganized attachment. So that's kind of like the combination of the anxious and avoidant, where you fear love, but you also want it. And it can come with a mix of emotions. And yeah, so those are kind of the categories, but everyone can kind of be this fluid.
Yeah, and it's really dependent on the context of where you are in life and the relationship type and the different, personalities that are kind of mingling within that relationship that can lead to different states of attachment. So, one moment you might be feeling really anxious, another moment you might be feeling secure, and yet maybe there's other situations or times when you might be feeling a bit more avoidant. So that can all live within one person.
Yeah, Mark, I have a question for you. And while working with your patients, have you ever had a patient that you've worked with like over time and you've noticed like they have a secure attachment to one person and then they get into this other relationship and they might have an anxious or avoidant attachment?
Yeah, I think that it's really dependent on the person, but I have seen how over time, how people feel about themselves in relationship can change quite a bit.
Yeah.
And depending on the person that they're with, like if there's someone who's really secure, they might be able to kind of go more into that zone of secure. If they're with someone more avoidant, their anxiety will kind of really get kicked up. And it's not really, inherently bad to be anxious. I think it's a really good, healthy signal sometimes
Yeah.
to know, like, wow, I'm feeling really uncomfortable around this person. And so that's really good information to take in for yourself.
Yeah, anxiety's an innate emotion that actually signals fear to us. Like a lot of times I hear people saying, I just want to eradicate this anxiety, but sometimes this anxiety actually
We need
helps.
it.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
Or it helps you, like, wow, I'm feeling anxious in this relationship. What's going on
Right.
here? It
Right.
helps you question
Yeah.
what you're going through, or maybe pick up on something in the relationship that you're not happy with.
Right. That's a really good point. It's sort of like anger a little bit
Right.
too, right? Like we need anger in order to give us the energy to leave certain situations or to confront an unjust experience or something unjust. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we should kind of go into the bids of connection.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Um, so there's just so much to talk about with attachment.
Mhm.
And, we think about these categories like anxiety, the anxious attachment, the avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment, kind of just like leave that to the corner, right? When you're kind of thinking about this. But like think about, right, how you receive connection. And this could be connection to someone, it could be your friend, it could be anyone. Like, do you allow connections to be received? And that's actually is one of the biggest influences to attachment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It plays a huge part in creating that safety in a relationship when both or all individuals in a relationship can really be open enough to recognize when their partner is trying to connect with them. And we call that bids for connection. You could think of that like small little deposits in your savings account for your relationship, right? And so over time, that'll really build up into a nice nest egg, for when there might be some conflict. We have all of these experiences kind of stored within us, and that person still feels safe even within the conflict. We
Yeah.
can pull from that savings account.
It's like when you pay all your bills and you're like, I still have room.
Right. Yes. It's
Yeah.
like gives that little cushion.
Yeah, that little
Yeah.
cushion.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like what an anxious person might feel when they might believe that they don't have the cushion. Oh no, where am I gonna get this
Mhm.
this 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 amount
Yeah, there's
to?
no stability. The ground is very shaky,
Yeah.
right?
So I think I might see an anxious person say to themselves, what can I do to make them love me more?
Mm,
So I can build that cushion more.
what can I change about myself? Which
Yeah.
can be,
Yeah.
a very slippery slope,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And
Uh,
also really energy inducing because I think I actually say this a lot in therapy. Why are you going through hoops of fire? So this you can convince this person to like you.
right, right.
It's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah. And it'll leave you depleted.
Yeah. And this kind of like hamster wheel of I'm not worthy enough.
Right, because it's not really about it's not always well, it can be about you, but you know, it's not always about what you're bringing into the relationship that's causing that person to avoid you, right? So
Mm.
we just want to be careful that that we're not trying to mold ourselves into what we think that person wants.
Right.
It's not sustainable, and
I
it's not really who you are at the end of the day. And then you're missing out on that person or those people who might really be more suitable for you in your life.
actually relates a lot what we talked about in our first episode, like being the authentic self, right? And like
Yeah.
really asking these questions so you
Mhm.
can get to know someone and you can align on your values.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really embodying your values day to
Yeah.
day, right?
So what would an avoidant kind of like might look like in those when we talk about like maybe the bank account, right? So the secure
Yeah,
is the
that's a good
cushion,
point,
the
right?
anxious is
Mhm.
like the overdraft, the avoidant might be
I mean, the avoidant just doesn't notice the bids. They don't notice them, you know, they're kind of aloof. They might be a bit more self-absorbed,
mhm,
and so they're not really noticing these cues from their partner. Or, you know, perhaps they just haven't built the communication skills necessary to meet these bids for connection in relationship.
stay this far apart from me
Yeah,
because this is fear.
right,
Like
right.
if you get any closer to me,
It's threatening.
it's threatening.
Because
I
then you can hurt me.
yeah, you can hurt me. The more you get to know the authentic me,
Mhm.
the more that this might be scary.
Right.
And
And that's the irony here is that the anxious attachment or the typical anxious
yeah,
attachment will think that there's something wrong with them, right? And so
yeah,
they'll try to change themselves, but the avoidant is on the other side of that coin, really. And they're not bringing their own authenticity into the relationship,
right.
which then makes the other person think, oh, there must be something wrong with me that you're not wanting to be with me or you're not wanting to share moments with me.
Which makes it so luring in a sense.
Yeah,
Like,
it really can
yeah,
pull you in, right?
right.
Yeah, it's the pull.
Yeah, the
It's like that
pull.
gravitational pull
Yeah.
to get your needs met.
And then you get that text that you haven't gotten in 2 days,
Right, yeah.
and
Kind of the
dopamine,
little pellet
the little
like gets
pellet,
released and you're
and
like, ah.
you look at your phone and you're like, oh my goodness, this is great.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Right.
And
And there's that rush.
that
You get
rush.
pulled back into the relationship, and that's why it's hard to break these patterns oftentimes between someone who might lean a bit more anxious and then someone that might lean a bit more avoidant typically.
Yeah, so I think what we're kind of like talking about is like these moments of connection that you say, "Hey, how are you?" You're leaning in. They're kind of like these micro. I think I would think about it as like micro attachment moments. Like, am I going to respond and give you a thoughtful answer
Yeah.
and
Right.
open it up to you so
Yeah.
you feel
And
valued?
it can be really subtle too. It might just be a facial expression or something. It's sort of like maybe that kind
Yeah.
of facial expression. And then if you're really attuned with that person, you might just say something like, "Oh, like are you okay?"
Yeah.
Right? But if you're not attuned enough, you're going to miss those moments. And those are really enriching moments in a relationship where someone is showing their vulnerability and maybe not explicitly, but they are showing it if you kind of zoom in a little bit more on it.
Yeah, they're so subtle and indirect. When I do a lot of couples work, I get a lot of couples that do a lot of indirect, like missing bid moments, missing like,
It's in the body language.
yeah,
And if you haven't learned or if you weren't attuned to as a child, then you don't really know how that feels to give that to someone. That's where it kind of the the developing an attachment to someone else really starts with knowing more of yourself inside.
Right, right. So I think a lot of people tend to think, oh, maybe I'll just find another partner and reset this.
Mm. Yeah.
But in reality, it's like inner work that they have to
Right,
do.
right. Yeah, it's sort of like, well, if I just move to different cities,
Yeah,
then life will be
yeah,
different. But it's like you're gonna bring your history to the next relationship, and you're gonna repeat it
yeah, repeat.
until you really confront what's coming up inside.
Yeah, so I would ask yourself questions like, why am I not allowing someone to care for me? And how do you answer that?
Oh, it's so vulnerable.
Right?
It really
That
is.
is a
It-
very vulnerable question. Maybe I'm just asking myself too many vulnerable
no,
questions right in the
that's
morning.
that's an amazing question to ask, but
Yeah.
it's one that I think a lot of people have a hard time with. And that goes, whichever attachment style you might identify more with, it's just so hard to ask for something.
It is. It is. Um, they were. They did this recent study about couples who are married, and it's not infidelity or other causes of divorces that are like the reason why they're separating. They're not having real conversations. They're not telling explicitly to the partner like, "Hey, this is what I need."
Yeah.
And that's a level of vulnerability that you need with your partner.
Well, because then there's always that possible rejection
Yeah.
if you ask.
Yeah. And also, another thing I find that like a lot of groups of people tend to think about with attachment, like just because you're married doesn't mean that you have a secure attachment.
Oh, absolutely not.
Or you're in a long-term partnership
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're like married. I mean, secure. You could easily be in fluid in
All
other.
sorts of
Yeah.
attachment styles, get married. A lot of it is cultural influence, I think.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, how else can you like work through receiving bids of connection?
I think just knowing within yourself that you're going to be okay whether you receive them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it can be helpful to start asking for things with people that you feel safest with. And usually it's a bit lower stakes when you go to friends and you open up your heart to them. It's a little bit easier to do that, to start with that.
Yeah, and sometimes it might be even the question of like, who do I feel the most authentic with? So you can kind of find that person, because sometimes we just make assumptions. Oh, it's my mom that I feel really close with, but maybe you don't feel that authentic or comfortable in like multiple levels with your mom. It might be even maybe your classmate that you feel like you can be completely yourself.
Absolutely. It's practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just growing that tolerance for the discomfort of asking and then just waiting to receive the answer back.
So it's a lot about leaning in, again, like what we were talking about in episode 1, leaning in with this uncomfortability. You have to ask maybe these questions that might not be the norm. You might have to lean into this uncomfortability of, who do I feel authentic with? Okay, how can I ask for how I want to be loved or cared for? And that might be very vulnerable, which is can be very uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that it's a negative experience or bad.
And again, it can be really useful information depending on the response you get from the person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, well, that's how you feel about me, or that's how you're going to respond to me in this relationship. I'm going to make note of that and just track for yourself how you feel in each moment that you're trying to connect with the person. And and take that in, and then that will help guide you in whichever direction you want to move within that relationship.
Yeah. And this can be really helpful for nowadays where they did another study where most application users on dating apps have either like experience like either they're avoidant or anxious. So like start from the first date or the first encounter, the first conversations, like leaning in.
Yeah, just go
Yeah.
there. Ask
Yeah.
the tough
Ask the
questions.
tough
Why
questions.
wait?
Yeah. And if you start feeling anxious on the first date, ask yourself, what did this person signal to you that made you kind of nervous? Like, did they not look interested? It might be, or
And at the same time, I'll say that we've in our culture have gotten so kind of hyper vigilant to
yeah.
red flags
Oh,
and
yeah.
oh, don't talk to that person,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like try to give people a chance, like no one's, going to show up to every interaction absolutely
Right.
perfectly attuned. But just track it. See, okay, well, I'm giving this person a certain amount of time and I'm seeing how I feel with them. And then, dependent on that, then you kind of collect your data in a way so that you can make a good decision
A
for
sound
yourself, a
decision.
sound
Yeah.
decision. Yeah.
I think you have one thing that you want to show to our users that can help us.
Oh, yeah. So there's this meditation called Inner Child Loving Kindness. And it's a really lovely, gentle meditation that will help connect you to younger parts of yourself, to really reinforce a sense of security and peace within, so that you uh, when you're trying to meet someone in relationship, there's a more sturdy foundation there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So take a moment to get comfortable wherever you're seated. I recommend, getting some pillows, maybe placing a pillow over your tummy and just kind of holding it like this. That helps with really sensing the breath as you breathe in and out. And you can do this lying down on the bed, on the floor, whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. So now bring your attention to the area of your heart. Breathe in and out from your heart. Let the breath be gentle and natural. In and out, in and out. Feel your heart becoming soft and warm. Breathing in and out of your loving heart. Now imagine your inner child in your heart. Your loving heart is a safe place for your tender child. And then begin to send some loving kindness to this child's self. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be free from fear. May you be free from suffering. May you be joyful. May you be free. May you love and be loved. Use the words that work for you best. Repeat them silently to yourself as you send loving kindness to your child self. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from fear. May you be safe. This part is optional, but if you'd like, perhaps imagine your adult self holding your child self, perhaps on your lap, maybe hugging, and repeat these loving phrases. You can also invite in any figures, either real or imagined, that have nurturing, protective, or wise qualities. They can join with you in bringing comfort to your child self. I hope you enjoyed this meditation.
I certainly did. That was so relaxing and peaceful. And that can be a helpful exercise for someone who wants to work on their attachment. There's also other ways too that you can engage in meditation. You can also talk to a therapist or a psychologist about these experiences that you're experiencing, so you can process them through. And, just kind of reflecting on what we talked about before, these bids of connection. So lean in, be your authentic self, allow yourself to receive these connections. We talked a lot about receiving, but also giving, so the other person can also be reciprocate.
Reciprocal, right?
Yeah,
and consistent.
And consistent. And know that just because you might identify with one attachment doesn't mean that you are stuck in that category.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not.
And that this is something that can be repairable. And once you become aware of it, you are destined to on the path of a healthier relationship. So yeah.
Yay.
Well, next episode we'll have to come up with something else to talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll brainstorm.
Perhaps we could do some more meditation.
Yeah.
And, talk about different examples of how to repair in a relationship when there's conflict, when there's trust has been broken, perhaps.
Oh, I like that. And that would be really useful in this time of day where a lot of people are having problems with trust.
On a very kind of macro level.
On macro,
right?
micro.
Well, it's hard to trust when we don't know what the truth is.
That's true. That's true. And when you're not being your authentic self.
Yes.
So stay tuned. Next episode will be next month. And we thank you so much for listening. And if you have any comments, please let us know below.
Great. Thanks, guys. Bye.